Hello students, welcome to AriserTalent. As you know, we are studying chapter the fundamental unit of life. Now this is time to discuss the important questions of NCERT. So here we go with the questions. First of all, we will discuss who discovered cells and how, as we have already studied this in the chapter. So let me tell you, Robert Hooke discovered the cell in 1665. How did he discover? He studied the cork, a slice of cork under the primitive microscope, and then he found that it looks like a honeycomb and it consists many tiny compartments, and he gave them the name as cellulae. Later they are termed as cells. Clear? So here we go with answer that Robert Hooke discovered the cell in 1665. Okay. He studied a cork, a slice of cork under the primitive microscope he saw that it looks like a honeycomb and it has many tiny compartments. Okay. He named them cellulae. Okay, he named them cellulae, and single they are known as cellular. Clear? Later, cellulae are termed as cells. Clear? So who discovered cells? We can say that Robert Hooke discovered cells in 1665. How did he discover? When he studied a slice of cork under the primitive microscope, he found that it has the structure of a honeycomb. It looks like a honeycomb which contains many tiny compartments, and these tiny compartments he called them cellulae, and single they are known as cellular. Later these cellulae are termed as cells. Clear? So thus cell was discovered. Next, why is the cell called the structural and functional unit of life? As we all know that all the organisms, whether they are plant or animals, all are made up of cells. Then thus the cell is known as the structural unit of life. Then it performs a particular function like respiration, okay, helps in the obtaining nutrition, and helps to throw the waste material out of the body. Thus it performs specific function. Thus we can say that the cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Clear? So here we go with the answer. All living organisms are made of cells. Made hai, these are made up of cells. That's why they are known as that's why the cell is known as the structural unit of life. Thus, the cell is known as structural unit of life. Okay. Each cell acquires a specific structure and function each cell acquires a specific structure and function due to organization of membrane and cytoplasmic cell organelles okay. What happens, because each cell acquires a specific structure and function due to organization of the cell membrane, and whatever the cell organelles are present in the cytoplasm, that's the cell will perform different functions like respiration, obtain nutrition throughout the waste out of the body. Thus we can say it is the basic functional unit of the life. Clear? So here we go, that each cell acquires a specific structure and function due to organization of membrane and cytoplasmic cell organelles. Thus, such an organization enable the cell, because it has a specific organization, so it enables the cell to perform different functions. Such an organization enables the cell to perform different functions like respiration, obtaining nutrition, and protein, etc. Thus, the cell is the functional unit of living organism. Yeah, thus the cell is a functional unit of life. Here the life is mentioned, so we will write life. Okay, so as a cell has a specific structure, means all the living organisms are made up of cell. Thus we can say that the cell is a structural unit of life, and each cell performs different specific function, like it helps in respiration, obtaining nutrition, protein, and help the waste too throughout the body. So we can say that the cell performs specific functions. Thus we can say that the cell is the basic functional unit of life. Clear? So here the answer is clear why it is called the structural and functional unit of life. Okay. Why is plasma membrane called the selectively permeable? As we all know that plasma membrane allows the movement of only selected particles. Okay. So that's why this is known as the selectively permeable. Okay, so thus we can say that why is plasma membrane called the selectively permeable? Because it allows the entry and exit of some selected particles or selected materials only. Okay, so here we go with the answer that plasma membrane is the outer covering of a cell. It allows or it prevents Yeah, we can say it protects the internal material. It protects the internal material from the external environment. It allows entry and exit of some materials in or out of the cell. Okay, as we know, plasma membrane is the outer covering of the cell, thus it protects the internal material from the external environment and it allows only the entry and exit of some materials. That's why it is known as the selectively permeable. Thus, it is known as selectively permeable membrane. Okay, so we can say that plasma membrane is the outer covering of the cell. It protects the internal material from the external environment. It allows entry and exit of some materials only in and out of the cell. Thus, it is known as the selectively permeable membrane. Okay. Next is, why are lysosomes known as suicide bags? As we know, some cells are destroyed by the physical or chemical influence. Okay, then lysosomes which are present there in the cytoplasm, they burst out and release some digestive enzymes and then they digest their own cell. This is the reason that lysosome is known as suicidal bag or suicide bag. Okay, so here we go with the answer. When some cells are damaged by physical or chemical influence, then lysosome which carry or which contain digestive, yeah, we can say which contain powerful digestive okay, then lysosome which contain powerful digestive enzyme burst out and digestive enzymes digest their own cell. Thus, lysosomes are called or are known as suicide bag. Okay, what happens when the cell gets damaged by the physical or chemical influence? Then lysosomes which contain digestive enzyme, they burst out and then they release digestive enzyme. Those digestive enzymes digest the cells, their own cells. This is the reason they are known as suicide bags. Clear? Next is, why are proteins synthesized inside the cell? As we all know, ribosomes which are present inside the cells, they synthesize the protein. Thus the proteins are synthesized inside the cells because ribosomes are present inside the cell only. So here we go with the answer that proteins are synthesized on ribosomes. Ribosomes are present inside the cell. Thus, we can say that proteins are synthesized inside the cell because ribosomes are present inside the cell only. Clear? So this is the answer, that proteins are synthesized on ribosomes and ribosomes are present inside the cell. This is the reason that proteins are synthesized inside the cell only. Clear? Next is, why is prokaryotic cell different from eukaryotic cell? If we talk about the basic idea, then prokaryotic cells are smaller and eukaryotic cells are bigger in size. Okay, they do not have nucleus, they have nucleus and well organized or well membrane cell organelles also. Okay, so we can say that there are the many differences between the prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. So we can mention that prokaryotic cells are generally smaller in size. And what is the size? Generally 1 to 10 micrometer, and they are large in size. Generally they are large in size. What is the size then? We can mention that the size may be 5 to 100 micrometer. Okay, and then nucleoid. In prokaryotic cells, nucleoid is not determined or not having the nuclear membrane. Nucleoid, or we can say it genetic material, which is the genetic material is not surrounded by nuclear membrane. In the prokaryotic cell, nucleoid means which is known as genetic material is not surrounded by nuclear membrane. And here in the eukaryotic cell, distinct nucleus is present. Distinct nucleus is present. Okay, nucleolus, or we can say that nucleus, or we can say, sorry, nucleus material. Nucleus material is surrounded by nuclear membrane. Okay, beside it, prokaryotic cell contain single chromosome. Prokaryotic cell contain single chromosome. Okay, they contain chromosome. It contain more chromosomes it contains more chromosome than the prokaryotic cell. Okay, next is nucleoid. If we talk about the nucleoid, then nucleoid is absent. Okay, and here nucleoid is present. Nucleoid is present. Okay, membrane bounds and organelles are absent. Membrane bounds and organelles are present. Here I can mention membrane bound cell organelles are absent, and in the eukaryotic cell, membrane bound cell organelles are present. Okay, so these are the difference between prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell, that they are generally smaller in size from 1 to 10 micrometer. Eukaryotic cells are generally smaller, larger in size, like 5 to 100 micrometer. Nucleoid means genetic material is not surrounded by nuclear membrane, and distinct nucleus is present. Nucleolus material is surrounded by nuclear membrane. Prokaryotic cell contains single chromosome. It contains more chromosomes. Nucleoid is absent. Their nucleoid is present. Okay, membrane bound cell organelles are absent. Membrane bound cell organelles are present. Here, let me mention. Okay, so nucleoid means genetic material is not surrounded by nuclear membrane. So these are the differences between prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. Next is, make a comparison and write down ways in which plant cells are different from animal cells. So as we know, if we talk about the plant cell, generally plant cell has a cell wall, but in this animal cell, it does not have cell wall, because generally it has only plasma membrane. And if we talk about the plant cell, then it has cell wall which is rigid in nature. Okay, and if we talk about the vacuole, then small vacuoles are present in the animal cell, but if you talk about the plant cell, then a central large vacuole is found in the plant cell. Do you know what is the function of vacuole? Generally store the food materials. Clear? Plastids, if you talk about the plastids, then animals do not have plastids, means plastids are absent in the animal cell. And if you talk about the plant cell, then yes, they have the plastids. What are plastids? Generally plastids are responsible, plastids are cell organelles which are responsible for the color. Okay, thus we can say plant cell is different from animal cell in many ways. Okay, so here we go with the plant cell and animal cell. Animal cell and plant cell. If you talk about the animal cell, generally they are small in size. And plant cells, they are large in size. Okay, and if we talk about the cell wall, then in animals, cell wall is absent, and here in the plants are rigid. Cell wall is present. Plastids are absent in animal cell, and in the plant cell, plastids are present. Okay. Beside it, vacuoles, if we talk about the vacuoles, then either vacuoles are either absent, or if present are of small size. Okay, and here in the plant cells, large central vacuole is present. Okay, so these are the main differences between animal cell and plant cell. Then in the animal cell, they are small in size, plant cells are large in size. They do not have cell wall, but in the plant cell, a rigid cell wall is present. Plastids, if we talk about the plastids, then animals do not have plastids, but plant cells have plastids. Okay, generally plastids are of three types: chromoplast, chloroplast and leucoplast. Vacuoles are either absent, or if they are present, they are of small size. In the plant cells, large central vacuole is present. Okay, and what is the function of vacuole? The function of vacuole is to store food. Clear? So these were the important questions of NCERT of this chapter. Hope you got it. You understood them in a nice manner. Hope it is clear to you all now. Thank you.